Great to have you tuning in to this series of Investor Talk. And in this episode, we have Varun here with us. So Varun is experienced at the cross-section of digital business building and financial services in Southeast Asia and global emerging markets. So Varun, perhaps you want to start off by sharing more about yourself, your passions, and the company that you're with currently.
Absolutely. So my day job is I'm a partner at a consulting firm running the financial services engagements and leading the Fintech practice here. I've been around here for about 3-4 years. Prior to that, I was running a startup which was acquired by Ant Financial Group. All along, I've been working with different kind of startups, some as advisor, mentor, investor, and a bunch of those kind of relationships. And that has got me to learn a lot about how they're operating, their challenges, and then sharing of those experiences, which has helped a few of those companies. Some of them have reached an acquisition stage, some of them have exited already. So having been at cross-section of seeing different roles and playing different roles at the same time, that has actually helped me a lot to support the startups in the financial services and internet domains.
Right. So what was it that actually sparked your interest in the startup industry?
See, it was much more of, I didn't look for it. It was more people doing cool stuff and like, this is exciting. Let's see how this works. So you're young, you're inquisitive, you want to see what comes off, and you try. And because your cost of failure at that age is too low, that's when you try.
And what was it that sparked your interest in the investing of startup?
See, the premises investing was, you're looking at some companies, you're trying to see, okay, it makes sense. And they were looking stuff. And that time you don't have young, 25, 26, 27, you don't have a lot of money. So you start to do what you can because you want to have a skin in the game. So it starts with not actually investing. That's not your first motivation. First motivation is to have a skin in the game. It starts with that. And sometimes you're lucky, the skin in the game becomes very thick skin in a couple of years, and you start to get good outcomes. And see, success is a great teacher and failure is a bigger teacher. So you learn from both. And so usually in my experience, me personally, it was much more of starting with skin in game, which lead to becoming a formal investor at later stage. But it was not like one fine morning, let's start investing kind of.
Okay. So to date, how many companies have you invested in? And are there a specific sector that you look out for?
See, the way I look at this is a very typical Warren Buffett model of if you don't understand it, don't do it. So I understand primarily consumer internet, digital marketing, financial services. So I only do those. I haven't kept a track. Some are direct, some are indirect, but probably 10, 15, something like that. Maybe more. Haven't tracked it because the other thing you have to understand with angel investment is it's not like a stock portfolio which you are looking at every day on a laptop or something, because stuff doesn't change every day. So you have a lot of the private investments, you have to accept that, okay, average outcome 7 to 10 years. And there will be months, quarters sometimes where nothing changes, or that you don't have actually an update, or even if you have an update, it's not an actionable update. So that's something which is important to look at. And having that patience and commitment is what's important.
So right after you actually start investing in a startup, right? So here comes the question of how often do you think startup and investors should meet? Meaning that we understand that some investors, they're going to be far more labor intensive, or rather they would, because like what you say, skin in the game, right? So they will want to know what are the startups doing. But some startup, they would want to be more, have the flexibility. They won't want to be weighed down by all the maybe high expectation of investor. So I mean, there should be a good amount of interactions, right? What are your thoughts?
No, so it's not like there is not like, it's reminders us, right? an investor, if he is going to add value, then you talk to them as frequently as you need to. But you see, and it should not become a drag that if you're thinking you should get an update every month, like you shouldn't. I mean, is there some, because see, your job as an investor is to help the founders where they need help. If you start to, so sometimes some investors start to act like founders. They start to assume that they will be valued in everything, because a lot of this is very good. See, sometimes advice is a real value, but there are a lot of times when you're not in the ring, you don't know what pressure the guys is going through. So, which is why I don't have a number. There are, for example, the companies which I work with, or they're part of my portfolio. There are examples. There are times when there is a week when I would talk to them 5 days a week, and then for 2 months I won't talk to them. No, because they needed something that 5 days. They were, for example, in the middle of a fundraise negotiation, and they wanted to understand specific clauses. They wanted to figure out how to negotiate some specific thing, and they wanted to look through or rehearse a specific pitch. And when they're going back to executing it, then I don't want to interfere or disturb in the business. But they're like, okay, we want to do this press release, and we want advice on how to structure and which journalists to talk to. So for those 3-4 days, I would talk to them. But after that, the premise is the same. If you need the role of for especially for angel investors, the model should be, if you need me, I'm there. But if you don't need me, then it's okay. Then I won't bug you. I'm there if you need me, but that's it. If you don't need me, then I'm not there.
Okay.
Don't try to force feed yourself.
It's kind of like having a child of your own. So when your child have grown already, just let him or her go do her thing.
See, sometimes the question is this, right?
Yeah.
There's a slight difference. A parent always has the best interest of the child at heart, and the parent probably would know a lot more about most things than the child. That's not always true with an investor. That's not always true with an investor, because the premise is this, right? Most of these investors have a day job. They're doing other stuff already. So there are times they would, but it's not that frequent. And a lot of angel investors actually overestimate their contribution and the value of their contribution. So that's something which most angel investors would not say, because they think they're very valuable, and they're actually not that valuable.
So before startup and investor actually establish the startup investor relationship, right? What do you think are in your own opinion, what are 3 most important factors that they should actually set on the stage before continuing with having this investor startup relationship?
It's very simple, right? Can you have a 10-year relationship? Can you have a 10-year relationship with that person? It's simple. If you cannot foresee yourself having a 10-year relationship with a person, don't do it.
Personal for you, right? What is your expectation of exit time and returns? When you know is the right time to exit?
I don't. My most exits were the ones which, I worked on them, but I do not want them at that time. But when it reached, okay, now it's coming, then I worked to orchestrate it. But I wanted to hold them, because the premise is, right, the stuff which is doing well, you don't want to sell it. You want it to grow further. So you see, you can't time it. So it's like this, right? You can't time when will you fall in love, for example. You can't. You can try to start dating, you can try to start meeting people, start finding people, but you don't know exact time. It some is your effort, some is luck. The key question is, when you are in that position, what do you do then? How do you position yourself best? That's part you can influence, but that's about it. You cannot define, and for me, it's personally that I don't lose money. It's simple. I'm very old school that way. Just don't lose money. Do your best. You still may lose, but do your best. As long as you're content at the end of the day that you did your best, that's fine. That's all you can do. You should be content that you did your best, and then stuff works, stuff doesn't work. It's okay.
All right. I have the last question for you right here. Okay, so what was it that interests you to come on board with NAV Angel Venture?
I was actually the guy who started this 5-6 years ago, and I failed. So I started it initially for learning as Angel Ventures, and it was my initial journey of angel investment. So I even did not know most of the things. I was learning a lot of things myself, which I did not know well, and it was a learning for me personally. And I tried, and I couldn't solve a lot of problems. And then Bin Sang was an intern under me in my team, in my day job. And one day he said, "This is what he's trying to look at." I'm like, "See, here's the deck from 5 years ago. I tried. This is how I failed, and this is all the mistakes I made." And you're like, "Can we reuse this?" I'm like, "Sure, do what you. I mean, go ahead. If I'll be happy for you to succeed where I failed. I have no shame in accepting I fucked up. I failed. If you succeed, I'll be very happy, and I'll be happy to help you not make the mistakes I did. If you have to make mistakes, make new ones. Don't repeat mine." And here are the mistakes which I can already see, which now I know how. In 5 years, I have also learned a lot to solve for you. Here are the stuff which I don't know how to solve. These ones you have to fight, figure it out. But don't repeat my mistakes. Find new ones. So
Right.
that was how it happened.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Thank you, Varun, for taking time off your busy schedule to have this Zoom sharing with us. We've come to the end of the session, and I'm sure you guys have more questions. So if you have any other follow-up questions, do send in to our email address over here. And also, do connect with Varun on LinkedIn and reach out to this wonderful advisor of ours. So thank you, Varun, once again.
Thank you.